wake up. It's 5, and we're live.
Oh, is this thing on? I don't care. I want him to hear.
This is the Pregame Show, your early morning shot of sports on 95.7 The Game. Come on!
Let's go. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the Pregame Show, Joe Spadoni. And for the next hour, you got me right here, 95.7 The Game, your home for the best Bay Area sports coverage. And we're going to talk about some Bay Area sports today because it feels like we spent a lot of time talking about the Giants. We got the Warriors Media Day. We've had a lot of discussions about teams that aren't really doing too much on the field or on the court. Actually, not doing anything because the regular season for one team has just ended. And for the Warriors, hasn't started yet. But there is one team in the Bay that's playing right now and playing this Sunday at Levi Stadium. It's the San Francisco 49ers. And they're playing an Arizona Cardinals team that just got absolutely obliterated by Jaden Daniels, Cliff Kingsbury, and co. in Washington. So let's start here with this matchup. 888-957-9570. That's the number to call or text, by the way. The Comcast Business text line is always open, so 888-957-9570. You can also hit me up via Twitch, Twitter, or YouTube, all powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Give me a follow at Spadoni_Joe. I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm trying to get to 1,000 people. Come on. You guys got to help me out here. Very insecure about my followers. I need more. And they're not. I pride myself in not a lot of bots. Although, maybe I should probably fact check that because I'm sure a lot of them are bots. I didn't pay for them though, like some people do. Didn't do that. All right.
Hey, Spadoni, shut up.
Sorry, Goo. By the way, I'm sure Guru loved. You guys see Jerry Jones yesterday, owner of the Dallas Cowboys, landing on the practice field with his helicopter. That was just peak Jerry. It's just like, what are we doing? You had like Dak like fake throwing the ball at the helicopter too. It's like, come on. Come on. That's just the Cowboys though. Will the Cowboys be interested in Devontae Adams? According to reports, Adam Schefter, amongst others, the Cowboys are interested. The Jets are interested. The latest from NFL Network is that Devontae prefers to go to the Jets, but he's open-minded for other places. But that would be his number one preferred destination. Obviously, quarterback of the New York Jets is one Aaron Rodgers, who played with Devontae in Green Bay, where they had a Hall of Fame to Hall of Fame connection there for a very long time. Another name to keep an eye out, as I've been saying this entire time, are the Saints. Why? Derek Carr. His one season with Derek in the NFL led to a first-team All-Pro for Devontae, and obviously they go back to their days at Fresno State when they had a college Hall of Fame connection, if you will. Although I don't think Derek's making the College Football Hall of Fame. But 888-957-9570 is the number to get involved there. We can talk some Devontae Adams to the Niners. I don't think it's going to happen unless the Niners are willing to part ways with one Brandon Ayuk. And I don't think the asking price is necessarily going to be that high unless, again, there gets to be a bidding war between all these teams like the Jets, like the Saints, like maybe the Bills or another team that we're not discussing. So we'll leave that there. But if you want to call in them, 888-957-9570. I want to get into this game because the feel around this team is odd right now for the 49ers. I'm kind of curious where the 49er faithful are right now when it comes to this team. You're 2-2. You've had a disappointing loss after disappointing loss, and then you had a solid win over a bad team. You beat up on the Jets in week 1, and I don't know what to make of the Jets. Jets just lost to Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos. They might not be any good. So maybe if you're a 49ers fan, you're looking at that win now, it's just like, oh, well, we've beaten two teams that might not be very good, and we lost to two teams that, well, one is good in the Minnesota Vikings, and the other one is 1-3. And they just lost coming off a huge win to a Bears team that offensively was inept heading into it, and then Caleb Williams looked competent. So if you're a 49er fan right now, are you optimistic? Are you cautiously optimistic? Are you down on this team? I don't know where we're at on this team, right? I'm trying to gauge the fan right now. Not a lot of them have called in this week. And I think they expected to beat the Patriots in the way they did. And their quarterback in Brock Purdy is playing tremendously well. He's playing like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now. And that's saying something because not a lot of quarterbacks are playing well. Patrick Mahomes hasn't played very well. Aaron Rodgers, not playing very well. Lamar Jackson's playing better. Josh Allen's been playing pretty well, but he struggled last week. Brock has been consistent in every single game. He's been really good. He has not been the reason they lost. Now, he's thrown some bad turnovers here and there, but none of them that cost them the game. The fumble, okay. Sure. I'd blame that game more on special teams than Brock Purdy, but if you want to look at that turnover, that fumble before halftime down at SoFi Stadium, sure. But you have a quarterback playing out of his mind right now in a contract year for him. That should be exciting, right? Because this is the one position that has really gotten 49ers fans just so out of their minds in the last decade plus. Hell, really since Steve Young's retired. It's the quarterback position. But now you got a quarterback. So that should be a relief. But it's the other parts of the team that I think Niners fans are pissed off about. It's the defense, specifically the defensive line. Now you got Fred Warner banged up. He's day-to-day. Spoke to the media yesterday, though. I'm sure he'll play. But if he's not 100%, you're already down Dre Greenlaw. He's not playing. You're already down a couple defensive linemen. Javon Hargrave's out for the year. Jordan Elliott's hurt. You have Samuel Okawanu. We'll see if he turns into something. He's looked good. Guy's coming out of nowhere. Nick Bosa played better last week. You're going to need that. So you have all these different elements of a team right now, if you're a 49ers fan, to look at, and you don't see a Super Bowl contender. Well, I'll tell you this right now. Who looks like a Super Bowl contender? Like, if that's what we're doing this early, it's week 5 now, and you're trying to, and there was a lot of calls yesterday because Steiny and Gu were talking, and I was the call screener yesterday for the show, and they were just doing the different comparisons throughout the Bay Area of all the Bay Area teams. Kind of a state of a union, if you will, if we're doing this presidential theme as we're in an election year. The Warriors, they're in a rebuilding kind of mode. They're not expected to be title contenders. I don't think fans are expecting championships this year. A lot of fans don't like that. A lot of fans have come to peace with that. The fans that don't like it, it's because they believe Stephen Curry should be competing for titles each and every year. And every year you're not doing that is a waste, considering what he just did in that Olympic run and winning the gold with Team USA. Some Warriors fans are like, you know what? You got to think about life after Steph. And you know what? If this year is about development, Pajemski, if Kuminga takes another step, right? If Trace Jackson Davis can take another step, let's see. So you're kind of split there. Then you got the Giants. I think there's a lot of optimism now with the hiring of Buster Posey as president of baseball operations and the departure of Farhan Zaidi. There's some optimism for the first time in a long time. They've been, muddled in mediocrity during this Farhan era, other than the one outlier year where they won 100+ games. But you bring back a familiar face, and that can calm a fan base down. Now, if it's the same old status quo in the offseason, and the hot stove isn't very hot, and it's lukewarm, and your eggs are just runny, and you wanted a fried egg, you know what? Maybe you're going to be disappointed, and it's going to go back to, same old Giants. And it doesn't matter if it's Buster Posey or Farhan, we still can't get it done. Now, I think Giants fans are a little more patient than that, but we'll see. And then it comes to the 49ers, a team that fans aren't patient with because they've knocked on the door 3 different times in the span of 12 years at the freaking Super Bowl, only to lose in dramatic fashion late in the fourth quarter / overtime in each and every one. They're sick of it, so they only view this team in the lens of Super Bowls, which they have earned under Kyle Shanahan. That being said, I'm going to ask something to do. I'm going to ask this of the fans. Take a step back, take a deep breath, and just look at the rest of the league. Just look at it. Who looks like a Super Bowl contender? Honestly. For the first 5 weeks, I could poke hole in every single team. Oh, the Chiefs are undefeated. Yeah, great. Have they looked good in any of their wins? Well, if they keep winning, I know they do. And the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They could be 1-3 right now, for all I care. And I'd still fear them. You're always going to fear the Chiefs. They're trying to three-peat. They're in their own category. I don't want you to think about the Chiefs until a couple weeks when you play them at Levi Stadium. Who's the other team that's undefeated? The Vikings? Okay. Yes, they've looked very good in each of their games. Are you ready to sit here through the first 4 weeks of this NFL season and say that Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings are Super Bowl contenders? Are you confident in saying that? I believe Sam Darnold can win a Super Bowl or get to a Super Bowl. I don't know if I'm there yet. He's looked really good. I'm impressed. I think it's a great story. I think what Kevin O'Connell and him have found is awesome. His chemistry with Jordan Addison, his chemistry with Justin Jefferson. Aaron Jones has been an incredible pickup for them out of the backfield. And Brian Flores has that defense flying. It's a very fun story. Do I see Lombardi at the end of it, though? No. And then you just start looking at the rest of the teams that you can poke holes in that have had flawed wins or losses. Bills, they just got humbled last week. The Ravens, they lost to Gardner freaking Minshew just less than 2 weeks ago. And a Raiders team that looks like is a dumpster fire right now with all the crap they got going on with Devontae Adams, Antonio Pierce liking tweets, et cetera, et cetera. The Eagles, they're trying to fire Sirianni as fast as possible. We're literally having debate shows about who's going to get fired first, Nick Sirianni or Doug Peterson. And by the way, that's the only team without a win this year. Jacksonville Jaguars. So I would urge everyone to just take a step back if you're a 49er fan and the faithful. Just keep having the faith. And it's a long season. And I get not having Christian McCaffrey is scary. I get it's almost like the fear cycle. We're part of the media. There's this old saying, if it bleeds, it leads, which sounds horrible, but it's just where we're at in society. We see it on our television screens. You turn on the TV, you see something happening in the Middle East. You see some sort of horrible car accident. You see all of it. It's always going to lead the story because that grabs our attention. Same way in sports with injuries. That's going to grab our attention. Micah Parsons, high ankle sprain. Max Crosby, high ankle sprain. Devontae, hamstring injury. Well, he's out this week. Like, that's what you look at. So when you keep seeing the 49ers in discussions this last week or last couple weeks, it's been about Christian McCaffrey and his bilateral Achilles tendonitis and him going to Germany to get it treated. And that starts creeping in the back of your mind like, all this negativity. Like, if we don't have McCaffrey, all these people are telling us that if we don't have McCaffrey, we're not going to have. Has anyone been watching the Niners this year? Has running the football been a problem for them? No. Jordan Mason has been one of the 5 best running backs in the NFL. Yeah. You don't take my word for it? Take Brian Baldinger's word for it as he joined the Morning Roast on Tuesday, courtesy of the River Islands guest line, as he does each and every week. Here's Baldy talking about Jordan Mason.
He's on pace for 1,800 yards. Like he might set a 49er record at this pace right now. Right? So you go, okay, he's never had to do this before, ever. He's young, so he's got that going for him. The line is blocking very, very well. The tight ends were excellent last week in combination. But he's not missing any holes, and he punishes players every time he does run into them. Like he's a top 5 back. I don't know how many guys are going to hit 1,800 yards. This Arizona defense isn't very good. There's probably a chance for – I know every time in the 3 of the 4 games right now, he's had 20-plus carries. He has had over 100 yards. So he had 19 carries in the game that they lost to Minnesota. He didn't get 100. But, I mean, he's a 100-yard-a-game guy right now, getting 20. That's a lot. That adds up. You got to figure out a way, especially when you got a lead, to get him the hell out of the game. Like, I would just, if you're up 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter in Arizona, get him out. You have to start thinking about that, even in week 5.
So Jordan Mason's already earned that treatment with how good he has run the ball. Baldy wants to see him use less and less, though, and that workload not be as much late into a game. Because he has the young legs. He is fresh. He doesn't have the wear and tear like a Christian McCaffrey, like a Derrick Henry, not even close. But that being said, this is going to be his first season being that lead back. When Christian McCaffrey comes back, no one knows. I don't even know if he's coming back this year. That's the concern, according to reports. So you got a top 5 running back. You got a top 5 quarterback. It's going to be okay. Everything is going to be fine in 49er land. If this team doesn't win the NFC West, I would be shocked. Just judging from what I've seen. We've seen the same old song and dance, and I get it. It's going back to urgency. We want to create urgency within the fan base to generate calls to get it. I'm not here to sugarcoat it, right? I'm not going to pull a Joe Lacob and do,
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You can sit here and do a sugarcoat job.
The 49ers are winning this division. I don't think it's going to be relatively close. The Rams are 1-3. They're decimated with injuries. The Cardinals, please. Yeah, they could be good. They can win games. They can beat teams that, you know what? Oh, wow. If the Arizona Cardinals beat the Kansas City Chiefs or something, I don't know. They're not playing. They're playing the Niners this week, but hypothetically, I wouldn't be shocked because they have talent. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a baller. James Conner's been a baller. Kyler, when he is on, is a baller. And that defense can get takeaways. So, yes, they could beat anyone, but they can lose to anyone too. And that is not a mark of a good team. And I get it. The pushback right now for a lot of fans would be Spadoni. Our team's 2-2. How could you say that? We just lost to that decimated Rams team. We lost to the Vikings. Yeah, we handled a bad Patriots team and we beat an Aaron Rodgers team that can't even score 10 points against the Denver Broncos. But I'll say this to that. What you have done in the past matters to me. That earns some benefit of the doubt for me. Kyle Shanahan, has he not built up the equity within the 49ers fandom to have faith in that guy? Again, it goes back to that word faith. That's what the 49ers faithful are called. But I heard a lot of callers yesterday that didn't have faith that this team was still a Super Bowl contender. And I thought, it's week 5. What are we doing? Who looks like a Super Bowl contender? Seriously. I know who a pregame show contender is for pregamer of the year. That's one Oreo cookie. And he wants to join the show. 888-957-9570. What's up, Oreo? You want to talk some Niners?
Hey, good morning, man. Yeah, I do. So what I want to do is the sport of the NFL. It's a week-to-week season. Your opinions are going to change by every week, by every win and every loss. Now, the thing with me is I can't get too up and I can't get too down off of every game. The only thing that I'm looking for is to get into the playoffs. Once you get into the playoffs, it's whoever's the healthiest, whoever has some good luck, and whoever's playing the best. Now, as far as Adam goes, from the words of Jera, we're all in. Whatever it takes. If it's going to be Ayuk to go to get Adams, I mean, can you imagine an Adams being motivated to try to get that first ring? And the defenses are going to start loading up the boxes to try to stop Mason. So can you imagine Adams out there with Debo will be unstoppable, man?
So Oreo, I don't want to cut you off. It's a good point. Are you okay, though, that Devontae is basically a rental for this year and moving off of Brandon Ayuk, who is, 6 or 7 years younger than him, I want to say? You're okay with doing that just for a rental player?
If we win a Super Bowl this year, yeah, I'm all with it, man. We'll deal with the rest later. Ayuk hasn't proven anything to me. I was always against giving him top dollar. He hasn't proven nothing, man.
Okay. That's fair enough. That's Oreo Cookie out in Oakland. You know what he's proven, though? He's proven to be a hell of a caller. And a rejoin expert, to be honest. whether it's here or the morning roast, we love some Oreo cookies here at 5:20 a.m. I can actually go for some Oreo cookies right now. Sam's nodding his head with a glass of whole milk. That's right. Shout out father of two. Whole milk only. None of that reduced fat. You got to get the fat on the kids early. That's what the doctors tell you, Sam. All right? So whenever you have your kids, you got to be stacking that fridge up with whole milk. All right? None of that 2% or 1% crap. All right? He's nodding his head. He agrees. Hair's on fire, by the way. It's my guys, the locks are just locking. Lock it up.
Shut up.
Sorry, Flem. Dave Fleming, by the way, tremendous interview yesterday. Go back and find that morning roast. It was his final interview of the year because the Giants season is now over. But he's going to be on the call. Obviously, the voice of the San Francisco Giants, but also voice for college football, one of them for ESPN. And he's going to be on the call for Cal Miami. And obviously, Dave is a big Stanford guy, Stanford grad. And I think this is the only time he's ever told people to come out to Berkeley to watch a game. Obviously, the big rivalry there. But shout out Dave Fleming. Hell of a job all year long. We played a lot of his cuts all season long. Great interview yesterday. Find that on Twitch, Twitter, or YouTube, all powered by First NorCal Credit Union, or download the free Odyssey app and thousands of other stations. Like and subscribe there. And speaking of the 49ers matchup against the Cardinals, let's go back to Brian Baldinger, who says the team they were last week in that loss to Washington is not the team who they're going to be next week.
They have always played hard for Jonathan Gannon. Their defense coordinator, Nick Rales, he's 30 years old. He's the youngest in the league. They've always played hard for him. Buda Baker is I call him the Cobra. Like, he shows up everywhere. But they just got worn down last week, and Cliff Kingsbury's doing a great job. That was an unusual performance by that team. They've been much more competitive than that. But I thought Kyler, really missed some throws in that game outside of the touchdown to Marvin Harrison Jr., who's got 4 now in the last 3 games. He's their go-to guy, so you have to have a plan for Marvin in this game. And they have always run the ball well. Last week they did not do that for the first time. But, Connor is a good back, and Kyler you have to account for. If they think that that's the Arizona Cardinals, that team that Washington slaughtered, that's not really who they are. They play tougher than that, be honest with you.
I would be shocked. After the debacle at SoFi Stadium, I would be shocked if the 49ers went into a divisional matchup again the rest of this season, sleeping on an opponent. I mean, that was a humbling loss to the Rams, to Sean McVay, to Matt Stafford, to Tutu Atwell and that entire team. They came back, revamped, refocused, and dominated a bad Patriots team like you're supposed to do. Now, this game's going to be a lot harder. The Arizona Cardinals have infinitely more talent offensively at the quarterback position, at the tight end position, as Trey McBride's practicing this week, as Marvin Harrison's been baller at the wide receiver position. And again, as Baldy mentioned there, James Conner is a pretty good running back. And running back as a quarterback as well, because Kyler Murray is shifty, and he is still quick, even after that ACL injury. So, offensively, it's night and day with these squads. But I'm looking at the 49ers against that Arizona Cardinals defense is where I think they'll be able to exploit them. It's not like they have these elite pass rushers. Chandler Jones isn't there anymore. Hell, old man J.J. Watt's not there anymore. Calais Campbell's not there anymore, right? He's not, right? Is Calais Campbell still there? No. Dolphins. All right, good. God, he's been around forever. Jeez. He's 38. Calais Campbell? I've played for 16 years. I've been playing since I was a sophomore in high school. Guy's a beast, man. First team, he's actually probably a Hall of Famer. I'm looking at all decades team, 107. Oh, he's absolutely a Hall of Famer. Guy's an animal. Dolphins, by the way, they just keep Jalen Phillips. He's out for the year. They're just decimated with injuries too. Tyler Huntley's starting again this week. Tua's meeting with Doc. It's not a good time. Now there's murmurs of maybe Mike McDaniel being on the hot seat. Let's relax here. Guy lost his quarterback. I don't think that much of Tua, but obviously there's a major drop-off between Tua and Tyler Huntley to at least should show to people that, okay, yes, has a lot of offensive weapons out in Miami. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, amongst others, but you still need a quarterback. It's never just plug and play. Even Kyle Shanahan had his limitations with C.J. Beathard and Nick Mullins. We all saw that. So let's give a little perspective here. Miami. But I get it. There's a lot of expectations in that division in that conference, and they have not lived up to them. Back to the Arizona Cardinals, though, and the 49ers living up to their end of the bargain offensively. I think they'll be able to do that. I don't see this 49ers team getting slowed down on offense the rest of this, next couple weeks. Whether it's the Niners, whether it's the Seahawks, the Chiefs, Brock Purdy is on such another level right now that if an opposing team tries to take away the run in Jordan Mason, I have so much faith that Brock Purdy can get the job done with his arm. When's the last time we could say that about a 49ers quarterback? That I could trust my quarterback's arm consistently to win me a game. I think Brock showed that last week. I think he showed it the week prior in Los Angeles. Hell, I thought he made some plays against the Minnesota Vikings team, although some interceptions, forced some things. Credit to Brian Flores. He's made a lot of quarterbacks look foolish, a la Jordan Love in the first half last week. And hell, CJ Stroud a couple weeks ago. He's been dominating the young quarterbacks here. So credit to that Minnesota team. But outside of that, Brock's been amazing. And I think he's going to be again this week. Be shocked if he had a bad performance, actually. The way he's playing, the way he's in tandem with Juwan Jennings. George Kittle had a massive game last week. Deebo Samuel had some catches. And maybe, just maybe, this is the week that Brandon Ayuk breaks out. We can all hope, right? Well, Oreo Cookie wants to see him gone. Do 49ers fans want to see Brandon Ayuk gone for Devontae Adams? You can take your calls on that. 888-957-9570 is the number. We'll pick up more of this conversation on the other side. How are you feeling, 49ers fans? 2-2 heading into this Week 5 matchup against the Cardinals. Do you feel just like a 2-2 team right now? We'll see. Or are you like me saying there's a lot of bad product right now around the NFL, and the 49ers should feel great about where they're at in regards to the rest of the NFC? Because the rest of the NFC, outside of the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings, hasn't been all that great. We'll discuss it on the other side. Pregame show, Joe Spadoni, 95.7 The Game.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season. I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Being young with unlimited energy to burn ever since I turned 4.
Dub Nation, this is Tim Roy, and you're listening to the pregame show on 95.7 The Game.
Thank you, Tim. Very happy that Tim Roy is back for another season of Golden State Warriors basketball right here on 95.7 The Game. We'll be doing all those games again right here, every single Golden State Warriors basketball game for your home for Golden State Warriors basketball is 95.7 The Game. So shout out to Tim Roy, shout out RC Davis, shout out the whole crew there. It's going to be a good year. It's going to be an interesting year for the Golden State Warriors as Steve Kerr joined Willard and Dibbs yesterday, courtesy of the River Islands guest line, as Steve Kerr is in the islands, the Hawaiian Islands, that is, as the Golden State Warriors are doing some practice there this week. They're going to be playing the Los Angeles Clippers, and we'll be broadcasting that game as well. Here, is that Saturday, Sammy? Clippers, Warriors? Is that what that is? Let me look it up. Warriors.
Possibly.
Clippers, thank you. You should probably know this stuff, you know? Here we go. Let's see. Yeah, October 5th. And shout out to Math. That is on Saturday. And it's going to be 3:30 in the afternoon, but it's like 12:30 Hawaiian time. I don't know what it is. But we'll have that game right here. We'll get all that situated. But I know we're broadcasting it here. And Tim Roy, the great Tim Roy, will be on the call. So that'll be good. What are the vibes at for the Warriors going to be where's this team at mentally? All the offseason drama, no more Klay Thompson, Lowry Markkanen, that whole thing, Paul George, that deal gets nixed because the Clippers don't want to help out the Warriors. It's been kind of a crazy season in Golden State, all dating back to the indefinite suspension. You got Andrew Wiggins back. Everyone's saying he looks great. Obviously, our thoughts go out to him and his family, the passing of his father. I'm sure that was a very tough situation. Steve Kerr talked about that yesterday and, talked about the closure of all of that and how Andrew's using that, and he's been revamped, retooled, and refocused. He's been sick the last couple of days, but overall, he's looked in tremendous shape, and that is a player that you got to circle as the X factor for Golden State this year. If Andrew Wiggins can turn back into the player that we saw for a stretch with the Golden State Warriors and be an all-star and be the second best player on the championship team, not even get to that per se, as I go emo kid per se, shout out South Park, but not even get to that level. Just be a consistent scorer and not just 10, 11, 12. No. Can I get 16, 17 points? And can I get an engaged Wiggins offensively? I think that's just the first step. And it sounds like the bar is so low there, and it sounds like, are we really asking this? But that's kind of where we're at. I need an engaged and enthused Wiggins each and every game. That is where we're at on him. And here's Steve Kerr talking about Wiggins and his illness.
He's missed the first 2 days, unfortunately. He's under the weather, and so he's been here at practice getting shots up, wearing a mask so he doesn't get anybody else sick, but he has not participated in practice yet. But what you said is accurate. He showed up to camp in great shape. I've watched him play pickup ball the last couple of weeks, and he's looked fantastic. I think there's some peace of mind for him now. At this point, you guys are all aware that his father passed away last month, and these last couple of years have been really, really tough on Wiggs and his whole family. And, I guess maybe some closure in that regard. And I think that allows him to, as he's grieving, to also move forward. That's from my own experience. That's how this works. And everyone loves Wiggs. He's so beloved in our organization. We all want him to get back to who he was 2 years ago. And he showed up, ready to do that for camp. And it's just a minor setback to sickness. So he should be good to go in the next day or two. And I'm expecting a big year from him.
The time for Andrew Wiggins this season is to prove that a couple of years ago was not an outlier, to prove that he can do that again. Because right now it's an outlier season for him. Kind of like how we were talking about the Giants and Farhan Zaidi. Oh, but he had the 100-plus win season. Yeah, that was an outlier. That's kind of how I view the Andrew Wiggins championship year with Golden State. That was an outlier until further notice. So can he get back to that level? I have my doubts. I'm not even asking him to get back to being an all-star. I just, again, consistency is where I'm at with him. And defensively, he was fine last year. Defensively, I had no problems with. And that's been kind of the pleasant surprise since he's been a Golden State Warrior, is the improvement there. And I credit Ron Adams, the defensive guru, longtime assistant with Golden State. I give him a tremendous amount of credit for helping him out, and got to give the player credit too, because it takes two to tango there. It's not all on the coach. It's all on the player. So Andrew Wiggins, major X factor this year for Golden State, 888-957-9570. Listening to Steve Kerr here, who joined Willard and Dibbs yesterday, courtesy of the River Islands guest line. And Steve Kerr is going to be joining them each and every week throughout the NBA season once again. So, again, we got Tim Roy back calling it 95.7 The Game. We got all the Warriors games here. We got Steve Kerr back on our airwaves. Basketball season's approaching, guys. This is the most wonderful time of the year, outside of Christmas, is October. We got college football. We got NFL football. We got MLB playoffs. We've got basketball approaching, NBA. Man, it's a lot of sports. All right, I'll stop. Don't want to scare anyone off. Here's Steve Kerr, though, talking about teams and media writing them off.
Well, I think most people are writing us off, which, it's a good place to be, really. There's no expectations from others. And in a little bit of a way, that feels like a challenge to us. Like, hey, let's see what we've got. And as I mentioned earlier, we need to take on an identity. And what I'm looking for is a hell of a defensive group. I want us to be scrappy. I want us to be difficult to play against night in and night out. And I want us to be able to play off of our defense. And that wasn't the case last year. That was probably the first year in a long time that we have not been good defensively. So I want to get back to being an excellent defensive team and then develop that identity and find our way from there.
Wants to be scrappy. Shout out Lil Scrappy, Atlanta, Georgia's own. I've heard that name in a minute. Wants them to be scrappy. So the high and mighty Golden State Warriors and light years ahead, going from light years to scrappy. Scrappy-Doo. Used to be Scooby-Doo, now you're going to be Scrappy? No one wants to be Scrappy-Doo. No one wants that. I'm just teasing here, but in all seriousness, everyone's writing off the Warriors this year. I do think the NBA kind of has a problem, though, from this perspective. And you can give me all these fun, young, exciting teams. What was the main storyline for the Olympics? What was it? It was Stephen Curry and LeBron James being teammates. And Kevin Durant, you can add him in there too. Now, I look at all three of those teams, and maybe the Suns are on a slightly bigger level, but I look at the Suns, I look at the Lakers, I look at the Warriors. I don't see title contenders in any of them. And I do think the league is going to have a problem this year talking about those guys and those teams like they are. And they do this every single year. But more so than any, I just don't see it with any of those teams at the end of the year, which forces them to talk about teams like the Celtics, which they really don't want to talk about, because the only thing they want to talk about with Jason Tatum is, his playing time in the Olympics and, Jaylen Brown being disgruntled, or, what's going on with Luka? Oh, he's got another injury. Oh, Kyrie. It is a drama selling league, the NBA, but I do compare it to the NFL a lot, because I do think the NBA it's not as regional as Major League Baseball. Obviously, it's a national sport. There's a lot of national games that people get excited about, and social media wise, it's definitely up there when it just comes to the discussion of the sport. But when you're comparing it to the NFL, we talk about the game of football a lot. Now, there's a lot of gossip. There's a lot of Devontae trade. There's a lot of rumor talk. But the one aspect of the NFL that just dominates in comparison to the rest of the leagues, and the NBA in particular, is not only the product and talking about the X's and O's of the game, it's the fantasy football aspect, it's the individual player, it's the team aspect too, because I do think that even with a bad team, there's content each and every week. Like, we're not going to be talking about Washington Wizards We're not going to be talking about the Charlotte Hornets. We could talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke and them being the worst team. We could talk about the Tennessee Titans. And when I say we, I'm not going here at 95.7 The Game, because if I was talking about Will Levis and Mayonnaise and Coach Callahan, whatever ratings I do have, however minuscule they are, they would shrink to oblivion. So we're not doing that. But just the product itself nationally, I'm very curious to see what the storylines are going to be throughout the NBA this season. And that's a conversation we can pick up throughout the year. But we're up against it. We're going to take a quick break. Come on back. Put a bow on this NFL conversation. Put a bow on the NBA conversation. More of your calls, more of your text on 95.7 The Game.
Trying to lose weight, but fad diets and sketchy products from online clinics aren't working? Listen up. Legit GLP-1 weight loss injections are...
Joe?
I'm off. I'm out.
Yo, this is the pregame show on 95.7 The Game with Joe Spadoni.
I love the pre-gamers. Just hitting me up on Instagram, just sending me rejoins. Why not? I love it. You can hit me up there, at Brosov Spadosov. There you go. That's a name you haven't heard. We're rolling, though. We got one more segment before handing it off to Bonte Hill and Joe Shasky of the Morning Roast. They're fired up. I'm sure they're going to be breaking down this Arizona Cardinals v. San Francisco 49ers matchup in Week 5. Sunday, Levi Stadium. We'll have all that coverage again, pre and post, right here on 95.7 The Game. Starts with the kickoff show. Evan Giddings, Lo Neal, getting everything started, everything situated. They do a hell of a job there. Live from the Hilton Santa Clara. And then after the game, it's overtime. It's Grandy. It's Sterling. It's Kyle Madsen. It's 95.7 The Game. Be there or be square. So we got you all covered after the game. And then after overtime, you only got a couple hours of sleep. You got me at 5 a.m. the next day breaking it all down. And are we going to be talking about a 3-2 49ers team or a 2-3 49ers team or a tie, a 2-2-1 49ers team? And no one ever talks about the tie. No, this isn't English Premier League. This is America, baby. We don't settle on the ties. All right? All right. We do settle on, though, is running backs. And we love a good running back until, they're dead to us, and then we move on to the next one. It used to be a running back-driven league for the longest time. You used to see them all over the Madden covers, and we just saw him on the Madden cover. And is the Madden curse back? I hope not. But it's damn sure cursed Christian McCaffrey because he might not play a down this year. And he was just on this latest Madden cover. But Jordan Mason has played like a top 5 running back. Brian Baldinger said it. And Greg Cosell, who breaks down film at an elite level, much like our Brian Baldinger. And Greg Cosell's been doing it for a very long time. ESPN, NFL Network. Guy's been all over the place. We love Greg Cosell. He's our 95.7 The Game NFL insider. Joins Willard and Dibbs each and every Wednesday, courtesy of the River Islands guest line. Joined him yesterday. Find that entire interview again, YouTube, Odyssey app, et cetera, et cetera. Here he is comparing Jordan Mason to a former Cowboys running back. This was interesting. Take a listen.
Well, Jordan Mason, I don't know how old you guys are, so I don't know how long you've been doing this, but you know who he reminds me of? Marion Barber. You remember him?
Oh, yeah.
He's a downhill velocity burst power runner. There's no mystery to how he runs, and he leads the NFL in carries. He's a very fun guy to watch. I really like watching him. He fits what they do because really, obviously, he's not McCaffrey. McCaffrey, when healthy, is the best back in the league, and certainly Mason doesn't give you in the pass game what McCaffrey does, but in terms of being able to sustain offense and keep it on schedule, which is so critical to what the way the Niners want to play. Certainly every team wants to play that way, but it's particularly critical to a team like the Niners, which normally doesn't push the ball down the field in terms of vertical throws, even though they had a few last week. He fits that mold, that profile perfectly. I mean, he is a sustaining runner. I think he's number 1 in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken, with yards after contact. And that's really the kind of back that he is. He's got natural power and really strong finishing traits.
The yards after contact for me is the one that puts him over the top into being a top 5 running back, because the guys that can do that at an elite level, it's a very short list. I want to say in the last 5, 6, 7 years, it's yards after contact leaders, and I'll get the numbers up. But I want to say it's Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones, guys like that, who have just been the best of the best in the NFL. Like if Mason's that already, that's pretty impressive. And this is, right here. We got yards after contact this season. Alvin Kamara, number 1, pretty good player. Derrick Henry, number 2, heard of him. Saquon Barkley, Kyron Williams, Jordan Mason. I mean, you look it up all metrics, or if you're just a fantasy football player like me, those are all top 5 guys. Kyron Williams has been a baller the last couple weeks. You see what Derrick Henry did? Probably won you a league if you have him. Or your matchup this week. Not the league. I'll relax. Saquon, he's been incredible. And Alvin Kamara, obviously what he could do out of the backfield in the passing game and the running, he's been incredible with New Orleans. Jordan Mason's up there with those guys. That tells me something. And he's out rushing in total rushing yards. 3 of them. Has more rushing yards than Alvin Kamara. Has more rushing yards than Saquon Barkley. Has more rushing yards than Kyron Williams. Only Derrick Henry has more. And Derrick Henry is a future Hall of Famer. So you know what? You're in pretty good company if that's who you're getting compared to. And Marion Barber was a tremendous running back. I think he was a Pro Bowler one year. Not that he was a first team or second team All-Pro, but he was really good. And I want to say he overlapped with DeMarco Murray during that time. Maybe I could be wrong. But Marion Barber, very good running back and runs hard and ran hard. I don't hate that comp for Jordan Mason. But again, it goes back to the physical nature of his playing style and just trying to get those touches under control. I know you can't worry about it in the moment. I know Kyle Shanahan's not going to be like, oh, he's at his 25th touch and it's the fourth quarter. I don't think he's going to do it that way. But that's why having a backup to him to give him some breaks here and there and a backup you can trust is so damn important. And right now, I don't think Kyle Shanahan can trust Isaac Orendo. I just don't think he trusts him right now, whether it's in special teams, whether it's in the backfield. And if you're in the Shanahan doghouse, and I'm not saying he is, if you get in there, it's very hard to get out. And you got to earn your way out of it. So he has to make, if his name is called upon, and it's only on special teams, can't fumble the ball. He's got to make the right decisions, whether it's a fair catch and it's not muffing it, whatever it is. Whatever the case, he's going to have to earn his trust within this 49ers offense because Jordan Mason, he's earned it and he's ran away with it. Everyone else, and he really has been the engine of this offense. We've been gassing up Brock Purdy, and rightfully so, but Jordan Mason has just made this offense next level at times. And here is Shanahan talking about, not just Jordan Mason, but all the running backs, and them getting to this point. A lot of them learned a lot of this from one Christian McCaffrey. Even though he's not on the field, they still learned a lot from him. Take a listen.
It started showing up the most last year, I thought. I think when Christian got here, his first year, just Jordan, Elijah, all the backs just watching him, how he was out of the backfield, all the stuff that he started to get because of that. I think all those guys were just a little more deliberate in that stuff in the offseason, and they all came back better last year. It showed a ton. Christian was just always available last year. This year, they did the same thing working, and JP's gotten his opportunity, and it's really paid off.
Kyle Shanahan speaking to the media yesterday. Here's more from Shanahan talking about the differences of Debo and Christian McCaffrey in the backfield.
That's a little different. Just certain things. Debo is a wide receiver and Christian is a running back. So those guys are somewhat interchangeable. They can do a lot of things the other can do, but not everything. So I don't want to go through those specifically, but it's not everything.
And yes, to that point, Jordan Mason, I don't think is at the level of those guys when it comes to being dual threats as receivers and running backs. I mean, Christian McCaffrey might be the best version of that in the history of the league when it comes to just being an elite wide receiver at times, as well as an elite running back. Same goes for Debo Samuel, more so on the receiver end, but if he gets an end around or he gets, a jet sweep, whatever, guy will punish you as a running back. Now, you don't want to keep doing that, and it's actually kind of been the opposite. I've seen Debo take some shots this year that I haven't seen him take as a pro, I think, ever. He's been getting leveled at times, whether it was last week, whether it was the week before, just people are teeing off on him, and that makes me a little queasy if I'm a 49ers fan. It's like, all right, we got money invested in this guy. We're not the same offense. We're not as dynamic without this guy. Speaking of limiting touches, can we not have him be in the backfield? Which is why you're seeing Mason continue to get more and more touches so you can limit guys like that so you don't have to put them in harm's way. All right. Tell me about this Arizona Cardinals team, though, Shanny. What can we expect out of them and how they're playing?
They're similar in the last year, and I think they're very well coached. I think they play extremely hard. The way that, defensively, the way they swarm to the ball. I think the biggest difference this year is, they have Buda out there who's healthy. We got to play him at the end of last year, but he missed so much time throughout the year last year. And having Kyler back, such a huge difference. They've added some receivers. I think Michael Wilson's a stud. Him just being healthy in his second year and adding the new receiver in Harrison and their tight end. They got a really talented group. They're coached well, and I think they're going to be a problem for people throughout this year.
And your assessment of one Kyler Murray, Shanahan?
He just looks so much more comfortable. I thought he looked really good last year when he came in. Just watching their offense, seeing him in that new scheme for the first time. I think you got to sit back and watch other guys do it. And then him coming in, you could tell he really consciously tried to play within the confines of the offense, and which was different to see just how his scheme was before. And then always when he isn't playing in the confines of the offense, how he can be as the scariest guy in the league. So Kyler's always played at a pretty high level when he's healthy, and he's doing that right now.
And remember, that was the draft where Kyler Murray went number 1 overall. Number 2 overall went Nick Bosa to the San Francisco 49ers. All right, that's it for this show. We'll try to do better tomorrow, 5 a.m. But coming up next, we got the one, the only, Vontae Hill and Joe Shasky. They'll preview this game. I think they got John Gambadoro, 920, Arizona Sports Talk radio host. He knows all things inside out when it comes to Cardinals, Diamondbacks, what have you. Maybe they'll touch it a little about the MLB playoffs. Who knows? It's been really fun. We got Dodgers. We got Padres. I think Giants fans are just hoping that that series just, ends in a tie and no one advances further. By the way, see you later. Houston Astros. Shout out to Detroit Tigers, baby. Let's go. I'm all in. I'm bandwagoning Detroit. They'll win it all. They'll probably lose next round now that I'm on their bandwagon. But we'll try to be better tomorrow. Have a good one, everybody.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM in HD1 San Francisco on Odyssey Sports Station. Always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch, and YouTube. Powered by First...